levels detected. Detonation imminent.
Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today we're here to cover the TU15 in Season 9 reveal stream done by the Division 2 development team, the Special Report stream, which is the first stream that the team has done in a year and a half, since December of 2020. It was absolutely insane to just be back in that format again. It was super, I don't know, it was just so fun to watch, super happy that we're at this point. This is really fun for me to do because this is kind of like my old State of the Game recap format back in the day. So I have a bunch of notes that I took throughout the stream, and I'm going to give you the breakdown of absolutely everything they went over. So let's just get into it and waste no more of your time. They started off with the introduction, as you can probably see by now on the screen. Daria and Yannick were here today to unveil TU15 and Season 9. Daria is, of course, the new community developer on the game that joined a few months ago, and Yannick is, of course, the creative director of the Division 2. They expressed their excitement to be back with streaming and back to content after waiting for so long, and we are going to get to some of that stuff in just a moment. They showed off the new streaming room because they have moved studio buildings since we last saw them, so that's pretty big. There were 9,000 people in the stream, so dead game. Am I right? This is Daria's first stream, and I thought she did a fantastic job. She is a wonderful addition to the team and to the community, so I'm very happy that we have her here. And she used the Division as an example for how she used to, view a model for how to engage with the community. And I think this is just a testament that despite the long gap that we've had, and again, we're going to get to that, we are a very fortunate group of players to have a team that is so committed to doing this stuff. And as I said, we'll talk about that in just a moment. The overview for what they're going to cover in this stream and what they did cover and what I'm now going to relay to you are some of the PTS results. They're going to talk about Countdown, Expertise, the Season 9 targets, systems, story continuation, and they also stress that there is some stuff about the update that they have not yet revealed, and there is a secret coming later in the week. Follow the game's social media. I wasn't quite clear from her wording if she meant they're going to talk about this secret before Thursday, which would mean to me that probably on Wednesday we're going to hear something, or if they're just going to leave it for when the update drops on Thursday. But either way, follow the game's social medias or myself here on YouTube or on Twitter, and you will be the first to hear about it if they do indeed say anything. They first started off by talking about the content gap. Of course, we waited a very long time from December of 2020 until now to get new content for the game. And there were a lot of reasons for that. As Yannick said in there, TU12 was meant to be the final update. We were super fortunate that the community support, ultimately impacted the decision by Ubisoft to continue development on the game, but that meant that at that point, they had to start from scratch. There weren't any developers or content to continue on or just to say, hey, get back to it. They had to restart everything, right? Relearn their processes. They had to come up with new systems and new ways to develop content to accommodate the smaller team size. They talked about, I'll just jump the gun here and say, they talked about that currently at Ubisoft Bucharest, when they started that partnership, I've said in previous videos, maybe we have 100, 200 people over there. They had 15 people from Bucharest when they started, and it's now only at 35. And Pale said that at one point, I saw this on Twitter earlier, they were down to 5 people on the project. 5. So honestly, to be completely honest, the fact that we're getting this content now when they had those few of numbers, even not that so long, more than a year ago, it's impressive that we're at this point. I am very thankful that we have this dedication from them. But anyway, that's what Yannick said, and they weren't just preparing, for a year and a half for this one update. They're preparing for the long term. TU15 is just the beginning. The future is secured, right? The wait is over. Now we're in the period of receiving all this new content, and I'm very excited. They also kind of made it seem like content longer than year 4 is somewhat guaranteed. The plan right now is for year 4, one full year stuff. But they really talked a lot about the long term in the stream and made it sound like it's not that much of an impossibility that we could see content extend longer than that. We'll just have to see where that goes. They also mentioned that the pandemic hasn't made things easy, of course, and this was already impacting the game back in year 2. Yannick gave the example of how voiceovers were very difficult to perform, getting people physically in the studio to record stuff. Makes sense. And they also mentioned that back with seasons 2 through 4, they were stuck with those voice lines. Usually they go back, and if they want to make changes to the story or the script, they can reiterate, get people to re-record their lines. They couldn't do that. Once they recorded the first iteration of lines, they couldn't get people back in the studio because of all the lockdowns. And so that kind of, explains some of that stuff. They also then showed a bit of an introduction video from the Bucharest and Romania team, so that was very nice to see. They all seem like very lovely people who put their dedication and work into the game, which is super appreciated, of course. And they shared the statistic, like I mentioned a second ago, that on April 1st of 2021, they only just started on the game with 15 people. So even though it was announced in February that partnership was beginning, they didn't join until April 1st. They began with 15 people. And honestly, that's quite funny that exactly 1 year later is when we got the PTS. So again, they've pulled off the impossible with so few people. I really thought it was even more than that. And that's so stark compared to how the Division 2, when it was being created, the entire game, had over 1,000 developers across all these studios. Now they have far less than 100 total working on this stuff. So it's really impressive that we're at this point. The Bucharest team also then had to learn the Snowdrop engine. That took time to do. They had to become familiar with the way that the game was created. Countdown was mostly done by Bucharest, is what they said. And so hats off to them for creating such a cool environment in the first place, but also, a mode that I think is really fun. And so, not everyone agrees, but that's cool. And Yannick said that a lot of people at Massive themselves chose to be on the Division 2 instead of the other projects at that studio, like Star Wars and like Avatar. So the people who are on the game now are passionate about the game, and I think that's really awesome that's the case. They then moved on to the first main topic of PTS results. They said that this was the most successful PTS for the Division ever, which again I think is testament to just how not dead the game is. They uncovered lots of bugs, got lots of feedback, of course, and the things they were able to tackle the most were countdown difficulty, expertise cost, and balancing. Like I said, were the most addressed topics. They then shifted over to Season 9. We get our reveal, people. So not only was there a trailer earlier for Countdown, which I'm sure you saw in the background, that one was really badass. They also played a trailer for Hidden Alliance, which of course is the name for Season 9. They really position seasons as the content features. Now, in the past, it's like, oh, we're getting TU10 with Season 2. Now it's really like Season 9 is the content. Season 9 has Countdown, has expertise, all the stuff. That's really just semantics, but it was interesting nonetheless. So, of course, it's coming with Countdown and expertise, a new season pass with a new reward track, exotics, Heartbreaker, the new brand set, all that stuff, and 2 new apparel events, which is very cool, and we will get to those in a little bit. For the story, Season 9 is a direct continuation of the story from Season 4's ending, and they confirmed once and for all that Fei Lao is indeed dead. There is no resurrections happening. There were no tricks. They said this was the intent from the end of Season 4, and they just executed it poorly as far as to, clearly communicate that Fei Lao was indeed dead. So they want to confirm that, but they said that Season 9 will, because it's a direct continuation, it will directly explain Fei's motives, her intentions, why did she do what she did at Camp White Oak, etc. And so I'm very excited to find that stuff out. They also played to us the new season targets trailer like you usually see when you log into the game, so I'm sure the same one will get played on Thursday when the update drops. But that was nice to see with Kelso's narration. We see all of the sub-targets and that Captain Lewis of the True Sons is the prime target. And the basic motivation, I guess, that they set up is that he and another True Sons, ranking officer are planning something big, and they're heading to DC, and we're going to find out what that is. I'm very excited to dive into this story, truly, to see what new stuff they've come up with. And they also confirmed that Castillo, which is the first sub-target, will be available on day 1 this Thursday. We won't have to wait a week like they've done sometimes in the past, so very excited to get into all of that. They got into some of the details of the update now, including just some general recaps to the content that we're already familiar with and are expecting because of the PTS, but let's go over that. Some interesting details. They decided on Countdown as a mode concept because it was the most versatile. 8 players with matchmaking kind of accommodates a lot of the different types of players in the game. They decided on the power plant to offer new surprising locations to explore. It was originally going to be daytime, but then they decided that the kind of dusk, or I'm not sure if it's dusk or dawn, setting created a bit more atmosphere, and I totally agree. It's really cool. They acknowledge that it's difficult, right? And they also wanted to stress, though, that you still get rewards for shutting down the power plant. The extraction portion is extra. You get extra rewards if you do that, but the main objective is to shut down the power plant within 15 minutes. And I think that is going to be doable for a lot of teams, especially once you learn it a bit. And they said that specifically, that content gets mastered over time. When TU8 dropped, we thought that Heroic was the hardest thing in the world. Now, they did tune it down a bit over time, but they said that the same thing is going to happen with Countdown. As you play it more, as you get more familiar, you're going to be able to beat it faster, and that's just the way that it goes. They also then reiterated that they are exploring more options with difficulty in the future. We'll see what that might amount to. They then talked about expertise. They didn't comment on it, but we could see in the visuals that there are new icons for Heartbreaker and Uzina Jetica. I thought the Uzina one looked better. I actually thought the Heartbreaker one looked a little bit not as cool as the one the PTS, so I don't know if those are actually going to stay or what might be the case with those, but I guess we will see. They reiterated that expertise will increase over time with new seasons and new gear to allow for new levels, so it's a very ever-changing system, and it's intended to be a passive overtime bonus. You know, you're not necessarily meant to just get on and grind all at once. You can do that, but it's meant to be this overtime bonus and not something that you have to stress about, you know, as soon as the update drops. And they reiterated that they might investigate further things as far as like cost and all that goes, and time to level up and all of that. You know, one thing they acknowledged was that exotic components are very rare, and you need a lot of them if you want to upgrade. So they are aware of those things and monitoring them moving forward. They then went into the apparel events that we can expect with Season 9. We're getting 2, and I will put images up on screen. We're getting the Fairview Crew apparel event on May 24th. And then which of course seemed to be themed around Countdown, a lot of that stuff, so that's cool. And then we're getting Street Activation on July 15th. I think this one looks really cool. I really wish I could get that shirt without the jacket on it, but it looks super cool. Very excited to see both of those coming. And they said that the goal now is to have 2 apparel events moving forward every season. So that's awesome. And they said that for the first time ever, they're adding in skins for gear, cosmetic skins. And so for Season 9 specifically, they're going to have backpack cosmetic items that override your gear. So it's basically the same as Transmog, but it's not, you know, that we currently have where you can pick any gear item to slot in, but it's not going to be tied to any specific like item, right? It's going to be themed around whatever the apparel is that you gain in the apparel event, and then you can put that on whatever piece of gear you want. So that's really cool. Hope we see more in the future, but excited to see what those look like. And yeah, that's going to be awesome. They also touched on the specialization revamp, which of course was originally planned for Title Update 15, but had to be delayed. And yet it kind of stressed why that was. It's because they want this to be a huge change for the game, right? They want to change the way that you approach specializations. They want specialization choice to be crucial in your build making. And because of that, the trees and the bonuses are all changing. There's going to be a linear progression path as well as choices from an entire perk tree. It's going to be really awesome. They said that in that tree, you're going to have playstyle defining choices. There's going to be some really major stuff in there, and they really want to get that right, and that's why it has been delayed. And they said, again, you can't choose every bonus switch. Yes, that is exactly what I wanted for such a long time. And they said, hopefully it will be ready for TU16. They just want to make it as impactful and as good as possible. So I'm really glad they touched on that. Really looking forward to that moving forward. All right, so those are the major categories, but then wrapping up, you know, they stress that year 4 is the focus, and there are going to be drops throughout the year with new seasons and new content. And they also want to hear from us about what they want to see. Right? They have to make smart choices about the type of content that they are going after because they have that smaller team, you know, probably less than 100 people. And so, you know, if you have something that you're passionate about wanting to see in the game, reach out to Daria, put stuff on Reddit, on the forums, whatever, because they want to hear our feedback about what they, you know, want to go after as we continue on through year 4. And they also stress that please make your feedback constructive. You know, Daria isn't just a human punching bag. Be respectful, be kind. Even if you have negative things to say, put it in a respectful way, and they will acknowledge what you have to say. And then last up, they did some chat questions, well, which I had quite a few, so these are going to be all over the place, but this is just the order that they went in. Crossplay, as I've said before, isn't being investigated. They have separate saves per platform. Moving those around is very dangerous, could result in losing some of them. It's a very complicated issue. It's not impossible, but it's such a huge endeavor that for their team size, it would mean the delay of, you know, future content and stuff, and that's really not what they think the majority of people want at this point. The Delta issues on the PTS have been fixed. Hopefully there aren't new ones that crop up, but at least the ones that we encountered there have all been resolved. Other PC crashes that people are experiencing right now, I don't have information on that, but they said that's a thing that they know is happening, and it will be addressed in TU16, so the following update. Someone asked if there would be another DLC. They said, obviously not in year 4. All of year 4's content is free, and they said who knows what might come beyond that, but they said at least, you know, they made it sound like pretty certainly that right now there is no work being done on one, but we could see what happens, you know, beyond year 4. Will they increase inventory and stash space? Again, something that I've touched on a lot. They know that they're adding more items, right? And obviously that creates the need for more items, but currently if they just increase the stash space, that will literally create live lag and server degradation. So they can't just increase the number that we currently have, but they are certainly looking into what solutions they can implement, and they might get creative with it in the future, as what Yannick said, beyond just adding more spaces. Something that comes to mind for me there is like adding in a system where you could, I don't know, upload copies of gear to like a cloud-based storage thing, and then you can like look in your library of different items that you've stored over time and like pull out certain ones. I don't know. That might not make sense at all, but we'll see what they come up with. They're aware of it, and they know that it's an issue that needs to be addressed. They talked about PvP. They don't want to ignore PvP, but it takes the right resources and the right team. As we've said before, they have a very small team size, and Red Storm is no longer on the project, so they don't really have the PvP-focused people there to talk about. So they stress that there is no big PvP 2.0 patch planned, but there are more iterative updates planned for the future. More like what we saw in 2.15 with shields changing, in sync, all that stuff. And they're still rebuilding the team. So they said it's totally possible that they might pick up a PvP oriented person in the future who can kind of spearhead a lot of that stuff moving forward. Someone asked if there will be a new hunter. They said they wanted to keep the stream spoiler free, but they gave a nice little wink wink. There is no new skill variant planned for Season 9. As we saw in Seasons 1 through 4, that was the reward for taking down the prime target. Currently, there is an exotic as the reward for completing the season, so I wonder if we are going to see either the Dread Edict or the blue screen as the rewards there. So that's pretty interesting to hear. And they also said that they would rather focus their energy on making the existing skill variants more viable rather than introduce the new ones, because Yannick did acknowledge that the ones that they added in, throughout year 2 were never really used that much. And so they want to make sure that the ones that are currently in the game are good before they go out making new ones. Will they add new map areas? Somebody asked. They said the Countdown, of course, is that. It's a new area to explore, and they plan on doing more stuff like that in the future. That's perhaps more instance-based, but they have no current plans for a new open-world area like they did with New York. Raid exclusives, they're adding the chest pieces and the backpacks that were currently exclusive to the raid into the general loot pool, but they have no plans to add the exotics to the general loot pool. People asked about a postmaster, some sort of thing to collect loot you didn't pick up and you can look at it later. They said they know people want it, but they're skeptical because of the quantity of loot that you obtain in the game, so it's something that they are maybe looking into for the future. Someone asked about more legendary missions, and that kind of loop back around to the overall difficulty conversation that Yannick was talking about, because they address the fact that expertise and the specialization rework are going to drastically increase the amount of power that we have as players. And so he raised the question of what is the new challenge. They don't necessarily have the answer right now, but that's something they're looking into for the future, and they bundle in Legendary with that because it's meant to be kind of the hardest content in the game alongside the raid. So they're certainly aware of that. And they also said that as the team gets more experience, they might do more Legendary content because it is something that takes a lot of AI tuning and all that stuff. So we'll see what comes of that in the future. But they are aware that there's even people out there who Legendary isn't a challenge for anymore, and they want to, stay conscious of that moving forward. So that's really good. They're aware in dealing with cheaters, but they don't address that stuff publicly so as not to, tip them off or any of that stuff. So just know that that's happening. Season 9's pass will net you Seasons 1 through 4's prime missions, the same way that they've done it now for a while. So no need to worry there. The hardcore mode is on the list of things to potentially get worked on, but no current plans. Again, under that category of you have to let them know what you want to see, and maybe it'll get touched in the future. No current new directives with Season 9. He kind of bundled that in with the difficulty stuff, and, they need to figure out what they're doing there before they go in and add more directives. Codename Nightmare is not coming back. Somebody asked about that, and Yannick said that they would rather focus on Kenley getting better rather than create an offshoot limited time mode. So maybe that's a bit of a hint that we could be looking at a Kenley rework moving forward. And that was about all for the content of the stream. They kind of gave their final words here. There is a free trial happening this weekend from the 13th to the 15th on all platforms, so the game will be free to try out. Certainly do that if you are so inclined. Yannick made kind of a funny comment that the more people who play, the more content they get to make as it looks better to their bosses. So, invite your friends, come back to the game, try it out, make those numbers soar, baby. And then they're doing Twitch drops as well. If you watch 1 to 2 hours, you'll get an apparel cache. 3 hours, you get a certain cache that I wasn't sure what it was. And then at the 4-hour mark, you get an exotic cache, and that is available for the majority of Division 2 streamers, active until May 31st, so check that out. And then they gave their final goodbyes. They stressed that there is a full year of content coming. Hopefully more streams will follow in the future. Of course, more PTSs and all of that. And they said one last time to be sure to continue to send your constructive feedback on the appropriate channels. So that's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts on this major special report live stream for Season 9 and TU15. Again, the first time they've done a live stream in over a year and a half. It's insane. It was super fun to be there and be in the chat and watch all of that. So I certainly hope you all enjoyed this recap. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on the stuff they're bringing for Season 9, the stuff they're talking about with everything else. I mean, it's too much for me to even think of right now, but let me know your thoughts. And if you have any questions or any clarifications you would like to know, certainly let me know, and I will do my absolute best to let you know. And yeah, everybody, that is going to do it for me today. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold.